Hi, so I get asked this a lot, so I thought I'd share some thoughts with you about it. And what I get asked is about graphene oxide, metal particles, nanowires in the COVID vaccine. And to be honest, I don't know. I have no idea what they put into that COVID vaccine. And equally, I wouldn't have any idea. I don't develop vaccines. But I don't think that the questions are actually all about that. I don't think it matters much what they put into the COVID vaccine because I don't think those are the questions. I think the questions are, how afraid should I be? And how much should I trust what I'm being told? I think those two questions, really, manifest themselves in things like, are there nanowires in the COVID vaccine? Is Bill Gates trying to track everybody around the world? Is graphene oxide? Are there metal particles? I don't think those are the real questions, and I don't think those are the questions that are being asked. I think they're expressing fears, and I think they're expressing distrust. So I think the real questions here are, how afraid should I be? And how much should I trust what I'm being told? And to be honest, how much should you trust something? I don't think it really matters. I don't think it's an important issue. But how afraid you should be, I think, is something to do with risk. So it's without a doubt 100% positive that if you give a vaccine to enough people, somebody somewhere at some time is going to have an adverse reaction and die. Equally, if you don't give that vaccine, somebody somewhere sometime is going to get the disease and they're going to die. That's part of life. It's part of the world. There is risk absolutely everywhere. There is risk if you step out of the door. There is risk if you don't step out of the door. At some stage or other, you're going to be involved in risk because risk is life. Without taking a chance, without moving forward, without doing something, without taking a risk, you're not alive. If you do something, if you make a choice, if you try something, you have a risk involved with it. It's not a question of whether there's risk or not. It's a question of what is the risk? How do you assess it and how do you ameliorate against it? How do you choose the lower risk? Because there being risk is part of life. Choosing the lower risk is actually about trusting what it is that you're being told, because at some stage or other, you have to trust something. You have to trust that when you sit in a chair, it's not going to collapse on you. And let's face it, sometimes they do, but practically nobody tests a chair before sitting down. You have to trust that your wife, husband, lover, partner, significant other is not going to tie their boots together late one night and beat the living daylights out of you with them because you made some slight about something they were wearing. You trust that that's not going to happen. So somewhere you have some level at which you must trust something. Now that's an issue here, of course, because people aren't trusting what they're being told, and that's the real issue. That and that fear are the things that drive all of these memes that are going around the internet, all of these, well, crazy stories about babies grown in China for microchipping, nanowires in graphene oxide. All of that is being pulled out from fear and distrust. And those are the issues really that people are struggling with. And when I'm asked those questions, those are the questions that I hear behind the questions. And of course, I have no answers to that. I have answers for me. I mean, for me, it's not a question of trust. I travel a lot for work. The rules are that I need that vaccine. I assess the risk. I know that most people don't die when having the vaccine, so I don't care what's in the vaccine. I need the paper, and so I go and get the vaccine because I need the paper. I have the need for that paper to a significant level that I don't have trust issues particularly about it. So for me, I found a resolution, and I'm okay with that resolution. And what I would suggest was that other people find their own resolution. But don't look for that resolution in these answers about whether it's graphene oxide or not. You've got to look for those in terms of the risk assessment and the trust you have. So you're asking the right questions instead of the wrong questions. So all that happens with all of those theories is you get this long and pointless argument that goes backwards and forwards and comes to no resolution whatsoever. Because the issue with finding your own solution as an individual to something is that some individuals don't like it when other individuals have an individual opinion that's different from theirs. What you find is they'll shout you down. So I'm expecting a bit of a reaction to this video, I suppose, and I suppose I'll see it in the comments page, but you know, such is life. But when you have faith in that individualism, that we're able to make our own decisions, and that you leave people to make decisions of their own, then fantastic. But of course there is a little bit of an issue there, in that something like a pandemic is actually more of a social issue than it is an individual issue. So not only along those things, when you're considering your need for this, you have to consider the needs of others around you, which we're not brilliant at, because we don't have that brilliant conception that other people's lives are as valuable as ours. Other people's opinions have the same weight as ours. We don't quite like that. That doesn't quite gel too well with us. We like to think we have all the answers and we're the ones that matter. And that's sensible, really, if you think about it, because as babies, of course, all you have to do is cry, and somebody will sniff your backside to see if you need changing, or stick something in your mouth in case you're hungry. So right from that first steps into the world, you get the impression that you're the most important person that there is. And of course it's quite a rude awakening to find out that there are other people as equally important as you. So having those ideas about the care of those around you should, I think, weigh on the consideration that you have. Now, whether it's good or not, other people can think it's good and want that in you so that they feel comfortable with being around you. And that, I think, is a far more important consideration, is how are you at your social appreciation and the need to have something to fulfill your function within a relationship and a society. That has to be part of your need assessment. So as I say, I think the answers are risk assessment and need assessment. And you should base it on the risk that you perceive and the need that you perceive, rather than being afraid and worrying about trusting. Just base it on need and risk, and I think you'll come to a resolution of your own, rather than asking questions about whether graphene oxide is in there or not. Who knows? Anyway, thought I would share those thoughts with you. I hope you found them interesting. I hope it isn't too contentious, and thank you very much for watching.